When I look back on that Easter, what stands out isn't the insult. It's the timing. Dinner had gone well by most external measures. The lamb was cooked properly, pink, not bleeding. The potatoes were crisp on the edges. I'd ironed the tablecloth that morning because my mother once said creases looked careless. I still remember that word. Careless. I've hosted Easter for 6 years in a row. It started when my father's heart scare made travel difficult. My townhouse was closer to the hospital, more manageable than the old family place. Gradually, the tradition shifted. I became the logistical solution. That's how I function in this family, a solution. By 3 o'clock, everyone was seated. My mother had brought bought pie, but made sure to mention twice that it was almost as good as homemade. My brother arrived late as usual, with a bottle of wine he didn't open. He left it on the counter like a symbolic offering. I moved between kitchen and dining room without thinking, refilled water glasses, cleared plates, laughed at things that weren't funny. "You're still working those long hours?" my mother asked at one point. "Wes, well, at least someone benefits from it." She didn't elaborate, she never does. Her comments operate on implication. You're unmarried, you don't have children. Your career is your substitute family. It's all implied. My brother chimed in about real estate prices rising. He and his wife had been looking at upgrades. The word upgrades hung in the air like an achievement badge. I smiled. I served more potatoes. What none of them seemed to remember, or perhaps what they preferred not to think about, was that the house they were planning to upgrade from had been partially financed by me. After Dad's health scare 3 years ago, we'd restructured the ownership of the family home. It was simpler that way, the lawyer said. My name was added alongside my parents' to streamline inheritance issues. At the time it felt like administrative kindness. Later, when my parents decided they wanted to transfer the home early to my brother, to avoid probate, as my mother phrased it, I agreed to sign the paperwork. It seemed easier, less combative. My brother had kids. He needed space. That's the word they used for him. Needed. I didn't need. I managed. By the time dessert came out, I'd barely sat down. I cut the pie, served everyone else first. Habit. When I finally lowered myself into my chair, the conversation was already moving past me. School schedules, renovation ideas. My brother was describing knocking down a wall in the old family home to modernize it. The old family home. I folded my napkin in half and set it beside my plate. My mother turned toward me then. There was no heat in her expression. No anger, just something observational. "You're quiet," she said. "I've been hosting." "Well," she replied lightly, "you should be used to being left out by now. It's what you're best at." My brother laughed, not cruelly, not loudly. Just a reflex. The room didn't react, no one gasped, no one corrected her. My sister-in-law focused on her fork. The kids were on their tablets. It wasn't the worst thing she'd ever said to me. That's what makes it significant. It wasn't exceptional. It was accurate to them. In that moment, something rearranged itself inside me. Not dramatically. Not painfully. Just a clean alignment. They believed I would always absorb it. I stood up. "I'm just going to clear some plates," I said. No one stopped me. In the hallway, away from the dining table, I leaned against the wall and opened my phone. I didn't tremble. I didn't cry. I didn't even feel particularly angry. I felt informed. I scrolled to my lawyer's contact. We'd finalized the draft transfer documents 2 weeks prior. Filing was scheduled for Monday. My text was brief. Pause the property transfer. Do not submit. I need to revisit the ownership structure, he replied within minutes. Understood. I'll hold everything. Call me tomorrow. Yes. I returned to the table. My brother was explaining cabinetry costs. My mother was nodding thoughtfully. I sat down and took a bite of pie. No one asked why I'd been gone. 2. The following Thursday, my brother called. "Hey," he said casually. "Did something happen with the paperwork?" "I got an email from your lawyer." I asked him to pause it. There was a silence, not confused. Calculating. "Why?" I reconsidered. But it was basically done. It wasn't filed. He exhaled through his nose. As this about something Mom said. She didn't mean anything. I didn't rush to fill the space. It's not about a single comment, I said eventually. It's about alignment. Alignment. I'm not transferring an asset I legally own into someone else's name while being treated as incidental. That's dramatic. It's accurate. He shifted tone then. Softer. Strategic. You know I need that house for the kids. You want it? I corrected gently. There's a difference. He didn't argue. He pivoted. So what now? Now nothing. The house remains jointly owned. We can discuss equitable arrangements in the future, with clarity. You're really doing this, Wes? The call ended without resolution. My mother called 2 days later. She approached it differently. I don't understand why you're complicating things, she said. Families don't behave this way. I almost laughed at that. Families also don't define one child by exclusion, I replied. That was a joke. It wasn't received as one. Silence. Then a sigh heavy with implication, disappointment, not apology. You're being sensitive. Possibly, I said. But I'm also being responsible. For my share. That ended the conversation. Authority, when it appeared, did so quietly. The revised legal notice from my lawyer clarified that any transfer of the property would require unanimous consent from all current owners, and would be contingent upon a formal valuation and compensation agreement. It was not emotional language, it was structural. The house could not move without me. That fact changed the air. The next time my brother discussed renovations, it was framed as, if things work out. When my mother mentioned the home, she referred to it as ours again. I didn't celebrate. There was no satisfaction in it. But something fundamental had shifted. For years, I'd believed endurance was maturity. That staying agreeable kept the peace. That being useful secured belonging. It didn't. It secured convenience. 3 weeks later, my mother texted about a summer barbecue. Are you planning to come? She asked. It was the first time she had asked. Not assumed, not informed. Asked. I stared at the message for a while before replying. Yes, I wrote. If I'm included. The dots appeared almost immediately. Of course you are. We'll see, I thought. The house remains unresolved. There have been discussions, calmer now. Professional, numbers instead of assumptions, nothing is finalized. But neither am I. I still host holidays sometimes. I still refill glasses. I still cook. The difference is procedural. My signature now carries weight in the room. And when I sit down at the table, I no longer feel like furniture. I feel like an owner.